Previously on Backpacker Diaries.
We would have enjoyed it more without probably our heaviest mosquitoes so far.
There's been a lot more long stretches of flat or rolling country.
And that's the A-team from the AT.
Saw a knight come riding in shining armor bright to save the day and reap a great reward. There sat the dragon calmly atop the mountain high, perception being that her time had come. With bold and fearless manner, he sought to slay the one thing that would not bow to man. I dreamt I was that dragon, I felt the fire and vengeance, I woke with blood on my hands.
Today's July 1st, and as you can tell, I freshened up with a haircut as well as a beard trim. We took a night here at the Northside Motel. Not a whole lot of services on offer here, no laundry, just the Wi-Fi and the shower, which is fine. It's kind of a posh college town as well that's 2.5 miles off of the Appalachian Trail. We're about to hop on the bus and get back on the trail and hopefully make it into at least the Seth Warner Shelter before the thunderstorms really kick in. So we'll see how we go.
There grew a tree in springtime, the branches brushed the sky, the roots ran deep and it could not be moved. The dark came cold and I was stripped of all spirit, and I curled up inside myself and waited to die. For once the winter held me, I felt a fire embracing, determined I would survive. I dreamt I was that nature, I felt the fire's glow. I woke and held out my hand.
Just crossed over the border here between Massachusetts and Vermont, and promptly started getting rained on. This is where the Appalachian Trail will be overlapping with the Long Trail as well for, as the sign says, 105 miles of the Long Trail's 273 miles. And we're just 3 miles out from Seth Warner on a, what I would consider to be hot and muggy July 1st here. Today's July 2nd at the Seth Warner Shelter. And I got really lucky. I snagged the last spot in the shelter for sleeping last night and kept my stuff dry. Anthony was tenting, but he chose his tent spot wisely and was able to keep out of these bathtubs that formed overnight. Most people woke up to 2 inches of water in their tent. It's going to be a muddy trail today. And it was very muddy yesterday too, even before last night's storms hit. It's gonna be probably a bit of a slog to the next shelter, which is 7 miles north, the Congdon shelter. We'll see how we go. We've been noticing where the Long Trail overlaps the Appalachian Trail on the southern end. This is the swampiest trail that we've seen so far through our 3 states that we've been through, especially after that hard rain last night. It's gonna be a wet one till we get some more sunshine to dry it out. This morning we woke up at the Seth Warner Shelter, and I couldn't help but notice that even the through hikers were waking up to tents with 2 inches of standing water. Can you give us any advice on how to keep a tent dry or how to select a campsite?
Well, I mean, of course the tent was really wet, but I didn't have a puddle underneath it when I woke up. And I think it was mostly just intuition, you know. I really looked hard at a site not too far from where I ended up and considered it, and I really passed it up just because there were roots sticking up that I thought would be uncomfortable to lay on. But you know, the spot that I chose still had a little bit of like leaf litter, kind of ground cover, whereas a lot of the other spots that had been tented in, you know, many times before, all the ground cover was gone. So pretty good evidence that water either puddles up or runs through there. And so, you know, not hard to avoid those spots. And of course, the later it got in the evening, and as more and more people just kind of piled into that area, because I mean, God, it was crowded. I mean, sitting at breakfast this morning, I counted 10 tents that I could see, and I know there were probably another 10 or more in different places around there. So, you know, the pickings got slimmer and slimmer. And of course, the couple that rolled up, you know, around the time I was finishing dinner and set up like 5 feet away from me, woke up and, well, they didn't wake up because they were awake and talking all night, which I thought was pretty rude, by the way. You wouldn't do that in a shelter, right? With somebody 5 feet away from you, you wouldn't like sit there and talk with people trying to sleep. But for some reason, it seemed all right to them for, you know, to just keep talking, even though my tent was 5 feet away. But, you know, like 11 o'clock at night, they get up and they just have a river running under their tent. And they just got up and abandoned their tent and went somewhere else, like behind the shelter. And I think they set up another tent or something like that. And, you know, it was a big circus this morning as everybody gathered around to witness the carnage of their tent with the bathtub in the floor and just all their gear that they had left behind soaked in there.
Yeah, there seemed to be, I would say, 40 people at least at that campsite in Seth Warner. Only 6 people in the shelter. You saw 10 people within eyesight, and then, yeah, many more were surrounding that.
Yup. It's just seeming like we're kind of in the bubble now. Northbound hikers and overnight and weekenders and stuff like that. So I think we're just going to keep seeing these kind of crowded conditions as we push north.
This is a longer weekend too. I reckon people probably taking July 3rd off.
That's true. It is a holiday weekend. Maybe that's contributing some to the crowding factor. We'll have to see, I suppose.
Along the path I wander, aimless and silent, searching, looking for what is mine. I met the touch of darkness, I know that secret fear. I held my soul in my hand.
Sounds like Anthony Fairy Dust Gagnon is ready to swap out his sandals for some shoes.
But currently Vermont can't keep the water off the trail.
She sat among the rushes, her faith in pieces lay, a life made ruin by a careless word. Then gently came the murmur, a mother's soft lament, a moment's succor in a hopeless cause. So one by one she gathered and fit them end to end until she could make it whole. I dreamt I was that whisper, I felt the rush of nurture, I woke with life in my hand.
Today's July 3rd. We had our first full day in Vermont. Safe to say that this has been the most challenging part of the trail so far. It's been super soggy, muddy, slippery, all those things. I plan to soldier on north and hopefully have a 14.5 mile day. Anthony's gonna go resolve a footwear issue down in Bennington, and we'll see how we go. Something about my shoes and my orthotics that slugs just love. So that explains this guy crawling along my orthotic there. Better check my shoes to make sure I'm not sliming my socks and my feet.
Pastel walls and painted lives, wordless time and broken. Nothing more than blue dreams.
Today is July 4th here at the Goddard shelter. It was colder than expected last night, and I'll celebrate July 4th with a 9-mile walk up to the Story Springs shelter, which is rumored to have some bear activity. I'm about to head up to Glastonbury Mountain and enjoy some breakfast up there. It's gonna go warm up and hopefully enjoy some sun exposure at the top.
Promises and flaunted lies, heart this time unspoken. No one can hear you scream.
Today is July 5th. Last night we tented behind the Story Springs shelter. 4th of July was a great day for us. A hiker haiku told us everything she knew about New Hampshire. Also at the Kid Gore shelter we had a spectacular lunch. Met a hiker named Jailbird that had some sage advice, and also ran into some great trail magic there, including some famous Amos cookies. We've also been sort of leapfrogging with a section hiker named Bob, who's shouldering his pack behind me now. Yeah, today we'll be going up and over what will be the tallest point we've hiked over so far, almost 4,000 feet there at Stratton Mountain. So yeah, it'll be a steep climb and a steep descent, but we'll see how we go.
Watch it fall and twist and rise, endless time awaken. Something more than blue dreams.
Today is July 6th. Yesterday we covered about 12 miles to get here to Stratton Pond, going up and over Stratton Mountain. The bugs were a little excessive, so that hastened our descent down to where we are now, and made for a great spot to swim and sort of freshen up before we go into town today. We've got roughly 7.5 or 8 miles to go to the trailhead and hopefully be able to find an easy hitch into town. Last night we had a bit of a fashion show with our bug nets as well after enjoying the swim. Anyway, we're definitely ready for some resupply town time after 5 nights of camping, and we'll see how we go.
Flash of autumn, haze and wood fire, brilliant mantle of leaves begun to fall, touch the ground. Faded purples, pools of blue, throw reflections, shapes upon the moon. Fade
on the next Backpacker Diaries.
Anthony decided to take an extra day at the hostel to sort of regroup and recoup. Looks like another garter snake. We are 500 miles from Katahdin at this point.